This is the Life Recreated Podcast, episode number 2. And today we're going to be talking about creating a marriage you love with special guest, Jhory Miller. So if you're ready, let's create the life you love. Tell us who Jhory Miller is. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know your background, where you're from. I also want to know, how you and your wife met and how this marriage was started. If you could just share that with us this evening.
Well, to answer your question first, again, my name is Jhory Miller. I'm from a small town in Louisiana called Geismar, in the Ascension Parish, in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So for a lot of outsiders, I just say I'm from Baton Rouge because they either know Baton Rouge or New Orleans. They don't know the Ascension Parish, let alone Geismar. But that's where I'm from, small town. As you mentioned before, I'm 24 years old. I moved to Virginia right after high school. I graduated May of 2013, and I left immediately. July of 2013, I was gone, and I felt like I had to leave. I had to have a sense of urgency about leaving because I have a sense of urgency about my life,
Right.
and just getting things going for myself, and just seeing anyone that stayed home was stagnant. Anyone that stayed home was, you either got a felony, you got a baby.
Right.
You made other mistakes. That's just kind of life just happened, and it's kind of too difficult. You kind of get bogged down, man. And I didn't want that. I watch a lot of the Animal Planet and Discovery. And it's too much out here for me just to stay in this one place. So I had a relative that stayed in Virginia, and he was the only outlet that I had. So I reached out to him, which is my uncle, and that's all she wrote. And that was 2013. Jesus, hold on. Don't crucify me, wife. In 2014.
Don't get that. Don't mess this up, man.
I know,
this
right?
is about creating a marriage you love. Don't mess that one up. Right.
I know, right? I met my wife in May of 2013. 2014. Excuse me, May 2014. I met my wife, and then we got married in June of 2016.
Gotcha. So how did y'all meet?
We met at my job. I used to be a recruiter and account manager for Tide Water Staffing. And one of her friends came in. One of her friends is my uncle's cousin on his dad's side. And they just came to the office, put in an application, and just so happened that her friend, which was Akira, was with her. And they were all together. And, they put in an application. She didn't even need a job. She just put in an application. And I just remember myself, just going over there, kind of introducing myself because my first time that I met my uncle's cousin, family friend.
Right.
And then so I introduced myself to them. And then I say, well, who's your friend? And then she's like, oh, this is Yakira. She was filling out her application being bougie, right? So she act like, I said, I know she act like, I know she see me here. Like, I know you see me. Like, just me, I'm like that. So I'm just,
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I know you see me or whatever. And she was playing, hard to get a little bit, playing bougie. I invited them over for some spaghetti, right? Because I know I can cook. I was about to go on lunch break. They didn't come. They were like, now we good. I said, okay. So I left. But I made sure because I said, okay, she's kind of cute or whatever and stuff like that. I like her. I think this is maybe, I don't know. I was seeking a wife, bro. I had been celibate and I'm being very transparent, for almost a year. I was seeking a wife. I've been praying hard for a wife, and every potential prospect that came across that counter, anywhere, look, yeah, you don't know, but you may be my wife.
All right. Gotcha.
And,
gotcha.
I got back from break, and I made sure that I stashed her application. I found her application and put it somewhere where I can find it.
You already got her phone number anyway.
No, I did not. She didn't want to give it up.
Oh, okay. It was on the application.
I got the phone number from the application.
There you go. Right.
I stashed the application so I know I can find it when I need it again. And it just so happened though, right? So this how women be, man. They act like to give in to conversation or whatever, be trying to be bad and bougie, right? But the next day, my uncle's cousin called him and told him to tell me, your Kira, oh girl, Tanera friend Yakira said for you to tell your nephew to call her.
Okay, so she had to she had to send a little
Yeah,
message, right? She didn't
yeah.
want to.
So
Okay,
so
I
she was
got
kind
you.
of she was kind of I ain't gonna put it out there like that.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah,
Right, we're live. We're live. Don't put it on there.
right.
Yeah.
That's all love, and she watching. So
Right.
yeah, I called her, man. Our first date was at the cookout, and that's all she wrote.
Man, that's it. So it was like almost kind of like just meant to be, like one of those. You know what I mean? Like when you meet somebody, just that connection. You felt that connection right off the bat. You
Yeah,
feel like
man.
that's what happened.
Just so happened she had just been had gone through a lot of heartbreaks and stuff like that. I had heartbreak in my life where I'm not starting over no more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not starting over with anybody. So I'm gonna next relationship that I get into, that's gonna be the one.
Right. Right. That's what's up,
She
man.
wasn't ready.
So
She wasn't ready, but
she didn't know she didn't know she was gonna be the wifey, right?
she didn't know.
She didn't know, man. So the first question I got is, and this is kind of off, just kind of bouncing off the Facebook Live that I seen that you and your wife had done, and one of the things you had said, you were like, you felt like you had this mindset, and your mindset had just shifted, from not the type of person that could be in a long-term relationship to like, even like just you said, you were like, yeah, I'm not starting over anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. So what do you think caused that mindset shift? Like, cause that kind of stuff is not, it's not like, to me, it's like that kind of stuff doesn't just happen overnight. You know what I
Right.
mean? Where your mind completely changes. So what do you think caused that mindset shift in your life?
Honestly, I mean, just being very transparent, it was my relationship with God. Because before, um, I didn't have. I always had a relationship, but I didn't take it serious. I was like everyone else. I go to church. I do that. I was into religion, and there was a point in my life where I tried my hand doing my own thing, and I reaped some concussions. I mean, I reaped some consequences that didn't sit well with me. So at that point, I kind of like, okay, well, I'm gonna give this God thing a try for real because I can't do it on my own. I know that in order for me to turn my life around, and being from Geismar, Louisiana, being having family members that's every male. If you're not a drug dealer, then you're an abuser. Being the son of, what I'm saying, someone that's doesn't have the greatest reputation as far as women goes, and all this other stuff, this bad stuff in my family. It was going to take God for me to make my life be what I wanted it to be. What I'm saying? It was going to take
Right.
God for that. So I tried God, and yeah, and that's kind of really all she wrote, in terms of that. So my relationship with God was the mindset. If that answers the question.
Right. So do you feel like, so I kind of like what I'm getting out of that too is that, do you feel like, okay, your commitment to God and saying, you know what, God, all right, I'm really going to try this. I'm really going to go at it. Do you think that helped you to develop the mindset to have a commitment? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because it's like if I don't commit to something, I'm not gonna know that I need to commit to this marriage. You follow what I'm
Right.
saying?
Because at this point in my life, hold on, I'm gonna give it another try to answer your question. The reason for that mindset switch is because at the time I wanted to truly have my life to be, I want truly to be a living sacrifice, honorable and just sacred unto God, as much as I can. I wanted to, really commit to God. So I felt like in order for me to commit to God, I needed to commit in every area of my life. And a part of that had to be, me having a wife. Um, so yes, so yeah, because I wasn't into having sex without marriage anymore. I wasn't into that. I mean, I'm a man or whatever, so like the thing is like it's cool, but it's not for me. It's not when you're trying to commit to God.
Right,
It's not
right,
when you're
right,
trying to be used by God. So that was my thing. So that was my mindset that I want to honor God with my life.
right.
So I'm
But
gonna make
but
it work.
why do it at? I mean, because at that time you were what, 20? You were 20.
I was 19.
You were 19.
I
Like,
was
why
19.
do it at 19? That's just my thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because
I
like,
feel you.
I mean, like when I was 19, man, I was smoking weed like driving around, just you know what I mean, running the
Right.
streets. Like I had
Right.
no idea what I was doing.
Because crazy thing is,
So
I thank God for it. But truly, I like me and my wife was talking about this earlier. But experience is the best teacher. You know, a lot of
right,
things I didn't have to experience. A lot of things like I never had to get in the streets because I saw what came with that. I saw how it ruined families. Some things I did dabble in, you know. But however, man, all right. This is how I can do it. This answers your question. Like when I got to college, I had already lived the college life my 4 years in high school.
right, okay,
I had
okay,
to the
got you.
max, to the max. I had already did what people do in college. I had already done that, and how people are in high school, I was that person in middle school.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So you were
So
like,
yeah,
I mean, you were like, I guess you would say if you would call it a generation, you were a generation ahead. Like, you know, if I was in middle school, you was already on the high school level doing
right.
stuff
And
like that. Got you.
honestly, man, honestly, and that's just the way it was. And so I realized I took it for what it was. As far as smoking, drinking, like I stopped clubbing. I've been to one club since I graduated from high school.
Really?
That was it, man. And
That's crazy.
I got it, bro. I peeped it. Like I just like I saw just the way my mind is wired. I saw it for what it was, and it's like that's not something that I'm okay with. You know what I'm saying? Like I see it. That don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? For what really matters, that doesn't that's not what really matters. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I wanted to live my life in the wisest way, and I want to live my life in a way that honors God. So with that, I kind of got all this wisdom. You know what I'm saying? I read my Bible at this time as well, real heavy, and it's like man. So I started to see things in a different light, and a lot of stuff just stopped making sense to me. A lot of stuff became foolishness to me at an early age. A
At an
lot of
early
stuff
age.
just became foolishness to me, and I wanted to. I know I got to play catch up. You know what I'm saying? I'm the pioneer for my family. So I don't have
Right.
time to waste time. I realized that early on as well, that I don't have time to waste time. And I got in a little trouble here and there. And once I realized that those things are just wasting time, I immediately cut those things off. You know?
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
so here
So all right. So staying along those lines, like if you at your age right now, because you just said you made a statement, you said, you know what, my mind was just kind of wired differently. Like, how would you help like a 19-year-old? Like, say for instance, you saw a 19-year-old and you know, maybe they were heading down the wrong path. What what type of things would you say to that individual to say, hey, you know what, you got to like, how would you? I mean, I guess the way that I'm trying to word it is like, how would you open their eyes to seeing that, you know, all these things that they're chasing aren't really worth it in the end? You
man,
know what I'm saying?
I
Like
will
based
paint the
on what you
picture.
were saying.
I will paint the picture. I will paint the picture. I will illustrate. This is this is the cause. This is the no the cause and effect. If you do this, life these are your options. If you do this, these are your options. And also, I would really, I mean, honestly, just that. What matters to you, you know,
Right.
and if certain things matter to you, whether it be school, whether it be having a wife, whether it be being a father because you didn't have a father. Okay, bam. So with that being said, you don't want to just be a father. You want to be a you want to be duplicatable. You want to be worthy of being duplicatable. So with that being said, the things that you're doing right now, you don't want to duplicate that. And also the things that you're doing right now, you keep on doing those things, you won't be able to have these things. So really,
Right.
it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I realized
Right.
that, and we try to hold on to our cake and eat it too, and we end up, just
It
screwing
don't
our
work.
life. But man, it don't work, man.
Right.
It don't
It
work.
don't
And I
work,
just
man.
realized that
Right.
early on, and I realized
Right.
what things are bad too. And for me, all goes back to faith because those things I can't honor God with that.
Right.
I
Right.
can't do those things and honor God. And I skipped out on a big part that really is the foundation of all this. I got a fear of God early on, a fear of God and the fear of like what's next. So I'm like, man, I gotta qualify for what's next. It's just not gonna be given to me. I can't,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? I just can't just live my life any way I want to and then expect to meet. If there is a God, I never was that deep, but I knew there was a God. But when I get to Him, like, okay, well, this is what I did with my life. Like, you ain't do. He's like, you ain't do nothing I told you to
Right.
do.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Then you'd be
why do
stuck.
you
Right.
deserve to be with me in
Right.
heaven? So I was like, no. So when I thought about that, because people die like every day, you know what I'm saying, where I'm from, it's in general. I can be next. Like I lost a lot of close friends to me in middle school, and just a lot of things. You know, just family dropping like flies, and like, man, I could be next. So the fear of death and the fear of God just kind of catapulted me to cling to God. And once I
Right.
cling to God, all the rest of these things have to come off in due time, because I can't honor a relationship with God if I don't love Him or if I mistreat Him. So I just really try to treat God like me and you talking right now.
Right.
I respect your presence, and I ain't gonna call out your wife out her name and all that stuff because I'm here with you. I treat God and walk and live my life as if He right here, because truly He is. So
Right.
with that being said, I automatically do a lot of things right. I automatically just, you know. So
Right.
that's
Right.
just my
Right. I feel you.
mindset right there, man.
Right.
That's
I
it.
feel you. So then, okay, so now that mindset, I feel like is completely opposite from, like what we're seeing on our current generation. You know what I mean? Our age group, that mindset of just having a fear of God. And that's like a whole nother topic, because I've
Right.
always thought about why is it so hard for our generation to have a healthy fear of God? You know what I mean? What causes it? And I got a whole bunch of theories on that. So, but that's something else we could talk about. But so then it kind of brings me to my second question is like, why do you think that, like in our current generation, a lot of people are like staring away from the idea of marriage rather than, like moving towards it. You know what I'm saying? They're just they would rather be single. They would rather be like, I'll just live the single life rather than getting married. I don't want to settle down. Why do you feel like our generation, our age bracket, is doing that right now?
Honestly, man, I hate to be biblical with everything, but like the Bible and God's word is just like the foundation and the structure of my life. Like those are the pillars of my life. So they don't have a relationship. I don't feel like people don't have a relationship with God. A lot of people don't have. They have a relationship, but they don't fear God. And the question is, why don't they fear? Because all right, I'm gonna take it back to the Garden of Eden, where Satan told the serpent told Eve, God, no, he didn't say that, but he said that no, that you will die if you eat this. And then Satan said, corrected her. He said, no, he said no. He said no, surely you will die. And he said to her, no, you won't die right now. You know what I'm saying? Like you won't die
Right,
right now.
right, right,
And that kind of gave her like okay, like I got some space, I got some I can. So cool, because that was her fear.
right,
You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, like a lot of people had a lot of people they see grace and mercy and love as a crutch to do what they want to do. So they know that if I serve a God, or I believe in someone that is so loving, so gracious, so merciful, that He'll forgive me of all these things. And this is a trend, honestly. And this is what I thought for my life too, because I had a bucket list. You hear me? I had a bucket
right,
list.
right.
I had a bucket list of things I had to do. Right. So with that being said, where was I going with that? I had a bucket list. Okay, bam. Because this is why. Your teens, you wilding. Traditionally, 20s, you wild even more. College days, 30s, you slow down and you start to settle. 40s, it's all over with. Like you just really settle. You just enjoying life and you
Right.
working. You pushing towards retirement. You're trying to save all you can. Get the kids out the house. 50s, you get ready for 60s. And after that, you really trying to relax, and then you can make time for God when you're old and wrinkled, when you don't have the energy, right?
Right.
So many people, and that's just a trend. That's just a trend. Grace and mercy will be mine and be on my side until I turn 50, 60, and then I have time for God because I've done the things I want to do already. I give God His, but I got to get mine first.
So that's why you think a lot of people in our generation would rather just stay single and just kind of live the single lifestyle.
Simply with also that, man, people don't want to be hurt. You know what I'm saying? Um, People don't want to be hurt. People want to eat their cake, have their cake and eat it too. And like people don't want to give away their option, their option to. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're
Right.
married, you give away your option to dabble with this person and dabble with that person. Or you give away your option to go and be out all night. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So people
Right.
want. I feel like truly, I feel like that's my answer right there. People don't want to give up that option.
They don't want to give up options.
They don't
But
want to give up
then,
options.
I mean, but then I guess how do we as millennials that are married, how do we show them that a lot of those options aren't really even valid? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like you think about it, like and trust me, I've lived
And can I
that
ask you a
life.
question? Let me ask you a
Go
question.
ahead. Yeah.
How do you know that those options aren't valid? How do you know that those options aren't worth anything?
Well, I mean, as far as finding fulfillment in it, you know what
Just
I'm
for
saying? Like
yeah,
it's the single lifestyle. So it's like, all right, when I remember when I was single, I mean, yeah, it's fun. You know what I mean? And yeah, you have a good time and you know, I feel like especially on the man side of it, when you're living that single lifestyle, it really is more about your ego. It's more about like, you know, me being the man and me doing this and me doing that rather than it being about any kind of fulfillment. You know what I'm saying? So like cuz at the end of the day it's like, okay, yeah, I could lay down with a woman and I could, you know, do whatever I want, but at the end of the day, for me, there was like no fulfillment. So then I felt like looking back on it, like looking back on the single lifestyle, I was like, man, you know what? It it was that there was really it wasn't even really a good option because it never really left me fulfilled. Now I'm speaking from I wasn't a Christian back then. You know what I'm saying? Like so if I was a Christian and I was single, maybe it'd be different. You follow what I'm saying? It would give me
right.
a lot more time to pursue the things of God. It would give me a lot more time to do all those things. But I mean, when I wasn't a Christian and I was single, I was like, man, this is like, you know, I mean, and then the to me it was just kind of like, all right, well, you start realizing like the caliber of individual that you mess with is like, all right, well, to me it just wasn't there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So with me, and I think for other people, well, for me again, it was I lived. I've broken hearts. I got my heart broken, and at that point. I'm tired. I'm tired of this already. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired. So I
Right.
really want that one. And for other people, I feel cause I have a lot of friends who's still out there, and honestly, like you just caught up in like for men. I heard Kanye West say this right on his song about his daughter, and he found out that once he had a daughter, that having a woman was not about conquering her, but about nurturing her.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
And not saying women need to be nurtured, but at the same time, like they need to be cherished. They need to be put on a pedestal, like you're a diamond. You know what I'm saying? Cause yeah, like they I feel like they need to be put on a pedestal. But we live in a culture where, you know what I'm saying, having multiple women, you that man.
Right.
That's like having like a handful of spades. Like, yeah, bro, I run the table. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? On Instagram, I got her. Look at my phone, I just had her. Flip. You know what I'm saying? Picture. You know what I'm saying? So bad. Like you the
Right.
man, right? Because
Right.
you conquered and you've exploited the thing that men cherish,
Right.
which is women.
But then it's like, who are you even really trying to impress? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
It's a persona, bro. It's just a
right,
persona. Because you gotta continue to validate who you are. And I feel like it all goes back to identity.
right,
Because a lot of people we you gotta continue to validate that same identity that you had in high school. The same thing that helped you find yourself is the same thing that you try to stay like, you know what I'm saying? This is who I am. Like a lot of us find ourselves in high school, college, or whatever, and the things that help us find ourselves, those are the things that we cling to throughout life. And
right,
you
right.
don't want to change because if you give up those things, then you're giving up who you are
Who you are. Right. No, yeah, that
to the
makes a lot
world.
of sense.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like you giving up who you are to the world. I ain't care about the world. I ain't care. Like you can't save my soul. You know what I'm saying? Or can
Right.
you can't. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
I
The world
got
can't.
you.
You can't
I got
save my soul. Nor can you. You know what I'm saying? Like yo, I don't want to be that person. I want to have like I want to have a family. I want to have the regular in-house family, dinner at the table. That's what I want because I didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? So playing games with y'all, trying to, you know what I'm saying, still be that guy, that's not gonna have that for me. So like I said, I had to cut some things loose. And that's just my mindset. If you want this, you gotta let go of this. It's about
right.
sacrifice. And a lot of people not willing to sacrifice.
I got you. So then, all right. Well, then that kind of like leads me into my next question because if it's like you know, like what we say, all right, well, a lot of guys struggle with the persona, you know what I'm saying, and their identity of who they are. So, like, as a married man, like, what is like your biggest struggle as a husband? You know what I mean? Because let's be real, like, we can act like, you know, and I'm not saying that you have, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
I
yeah.
know that a lot of people is like, all right, well, yeah, we're married and we're like, you know, super husband, but every single one of us has a struggle. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Every single one of us has something that we battle.
All right.
And so when you and your wife got married, what did you find was the biggest struggle that you had to deal with as a man? Maybe not the whole marriage, but just as a man, what did you have to deal with?
Um, it's whenever honestly, I'm gonna say this. My biggest problem, and it took me a really long time to figure out the answer to this question, and I feel like I still haven't gotten it yet because the typical things that's the hardships is like sex. You know what I'm saying? All these other things because I've given up those options. But
Right.
those aren't problems for me because again, I have a fear of God. So I don't care about my wife. I love her, but I'm not caring about her. I care about honoring God because He's here right now, and most importantly, He sees me with this woman, and I feel like whatever. So yeah, so that's not my problem. My struggle has come from again identity because it's like as men, been told like not to cry, not to show ourselves weak, not to do all these. You know what I'm saying? Not to do all these things. And women are totally different creatures. They are everything that we're not. So, in order to commune with my wife and to have a good relationship with her and to be able to understand her, I had to kind of cut off some things that made me who I am. You know what I'm saying? I had to always cut off those being always wanting to be right. I had to give up my option to be right. I no longer had the
Right.
right to be right anymore.
Right.
It wasn't about
Right.
me
Right.
being right anymore. Um, I can be very controlling. I had to give up the right. I had to lose the controls. You know what I'm saying? I had to give it up, which wasn't very easy because I'm a control freak. A little bit, but I just had to give it up. That was difficult for me.
Right.
Um, but are the main things. She may say some other stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, you know she gonna say some other
She
stuff.
may say some
Because I
other
think
stuff.
one of our biggest things is that we a lot of times we don't even see our own. You know what I mean? Like we can't
Yeah.
see our own flaws. Everybody else can
Right.
see it, but we think that we got everything going on, man, and we got it all together. And so it just takes somebody else to see those um to really show us what we need to change. You know what
Right.
I'm saying, as husband, because it's like I remember my dad and my mom always telling me that my parents been married for 38 years. It'll be 38 years this year,
Yo,
and
it's crazy.
they would tell me all the time to be like, Nick, marriage is like two people going in a room and throwing away the key. Like when you're in that room, you got to figure it out. And I would always, at the time when they would tell me that, I mean, I was younger, wasn't even thinking about marriage. I'm like, man, you guys are talking crazy. But now, as a husband, I'm like, okay, I understand now. Like, we got to work this out because I know that I struggle with those things. You know what I'm saying? And I
Right.
know that it can be hard. And I mean, and another thing you got to think about too is, and I think you're in this position. I think at your church, I went and visited, but also being in a position of leadership, like that was one of my biggest struggles, was being in a position of leadership puts you it can sometimes put you in a dangerous position. You know what I'm saying? To
Right.
where you were there, and especially if you have an expression, if you have a voice in whatever organization you're in, it can put you in some compromise, and not really compromise, but it can put you in
Some hot
situations that can be
water.
dangerous. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're there and you're this person that's giving advice. You're this person that's sharing wisdom, and women are attracted. I believe women are attracted to leadership. They, that's I feel like that's some of the way that God built us is for women to be attracted to that. And so, one of the struggles that I faced, even going into ministry and being in ministry, is always kind of keeping that check and just being like, you know what? I understand this is my position, my platform, but at the same time, I got to take a step back and make sure that I set those boundaries correctly. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Let me tell you a story. Yo, all right. So this just came to mind. This is crazy, right? So a while ago, right? I used to work security at the mall, right? And me. I think I'm all right. I'm kind of good looking or whatever. So anyway, I don't know what I was talking to this guy who worked like I know who worked with the maintenance or whatever. Anyway, I was talking with him and had this group of girls who were walking by, and women always like get at me or whatever, but I just be have a blessed day. I know just whatever, just being a gentleman. But a couple of times, someone like really tried to be at me. They tried to give me their number, right? So these group of girls, right? They one it was three of them, and they were from Hampton. They had on Hampton University T-shirts, and I go to Norfolk State, so we're like rivals. And
Right.
I asked them, I said, how come y'all didn't go to Patrick? They were walking by. I said, why y'all over here at MacArthur Mall? Why didn't y'all go to Patrick Henry Mall, which is in Newport News? Then they're like just messing with him. He said, oh, whatever. I said, all right, bet y'all have a blessed day. Cool. Continue my conversation with my man I was talking with, right? So then they walked out, but didn't walk too far. Keep on eyeing me. I'm looking at you eyeing me, right? So I'm like, okay, well, here we go, right? So here we go, right?
Right.
Oh, look, just to disclose, I already told my wife about this, so we good.
Okay, yeah. I'm figuring that you already mentioned that
I told my wife about this. She already know.
All right.
All right. So anyway, girls, right? Now the girl who was really at me, she walked off. One of her friends walked up to me, and she had gave me her number, right, on a piece of paper. So I took it, right, and I took out my pen, and she said, "Oh, she asked for your number as well." I said, "Okay, here." So I wrote down Matthew 6:33 on that piece of paper, right?
Right.
I wrote down Matthew 6:33 on the paper, and I told her that that I told her to tell her friend to put God first and honor Him with her life, and the Lord will send her husband in due time.
Right.
And then she walked off.
And then she walked off. Right. Okay.
Off, right. So,
yeah.
So to answer your question, it was giving up the option. Like one of the struggles for me is giving up the option to like for me, it's like I had to give. I know that I can. I know that I can have. I know I can have certain things. God gave me a gift. I can almost man. God gave me the gift of discernment. I read people very well. Like I know women. I can almost look at a woman or someone, and I know your struggles. I know you done been through XYZ men. I know you done been hurt. Like God has given that, and it's almost obvious. It's written on their forehead, so much so. And in the past, I used this gift to my advantage. I may not be the most attractive or the most appealing or whatever goofy guy, but I am that, and I'm cool with my skin. But as if someone was to hang around me for I'm in your class this year. By the end of the year, you're gonna feel a way about Jhory, right? And I knew how to manipulate them. So my question was giving up that gift, to using that gift to honor God, to bring them into the sheepfold, rather than be a wolf cloaked in sheep's clothing and sheep skin and sheep fur, to have them the way I want them.
Right.
So, that's good. I really believe that God, we all have gifts that we're able to draw people. But the thing is, what will you do with His people once you have them? Once you're able to, to put, just anywhere. Once you're able to impact them, what will you do? What will you say?
Right.
And I fear God, and I love what He loves, and I hate what He hates. So I can't mishandle His sheep. Right. So it was easy for me to give up that.
No, that's good, and that's good
to take advantage of His people. Because trust my flesh be talking to me. I wouldn't be a man if I wouldn't be a man if I say that my eyes didn't get me in trouble, or I wouldn't be I wouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? My flesh wouldn't be my flesh if I said that my eyes didn't get me in trouble or saw whatever. That's just the way I feel like. You know what I'm saying? We were wired after doing those things for so long.
Right.
But there
Right.
comes a point
Okay.
where you have to, you have to give up those things. And
Right.
I gave them up early because I realized that they weren't worth it. I had to do
Wasn't worth
the work that I'm called to do in this life.
it. Right. So then let me ask you this next question. So, kind of like flipping to the other side, we're talking about struggles. Let's kind of talk about some of the strengths. Like, so what I've kind of realized, even in, our generation, and a lot of people, and I'm sure probably even yourself included, are, we're very goal oriented. You
All
know what I
right.
mean? Because, and it's, we look at social media and everybody always shows the good side. Everybody always shows what they just got and where they just moved to and all these different things. So that kind of creates something in us that is like, you know what, I have to achieve more. I need to achieve more. I need to, I want to, especially in our generation, I think, our age group, we feel like we need to arrive
Right.
uh, faster than our parents did. And
Mm,
so one of
that's
the
big.
things that I know I've dealt with is that coming into a marriage, we both have separate goals. Like we both, like as a husband, I know where I wanted to be heading when before I got married, and my wife, she knew where she wanted to be heading before we got married. But then
Right.
we come together, so we both have these different objectives and these different directions that we want life to go. But then we come together, and it's like, how do we find a balance in achieving those goals, especially like, and I'm just trying to ask like how you and your wife might approach this. How do y'all find a balance to goals? Because yes, we have goals as a family, but I know you might have your personal goals and she might have hers. How do you find that balance without it becoming too unbalanced to where you
Mm.
guys are rather bumping heads rather than working together?
It's crazy that you asked me because like we had just kind of gotten over this hump. You know what I'm saying? And the answer to that question is unity. Um, the question is unity. I mean, the answer is unity. Because I had a lot of personal agendas that I was trying to push forward, and it started to tear us apart because I had my son, I have all of these things going on, and in my family, I had all these blessings, and I'm married, I got son, I'm this at my church, I'm that, and I was tending to other things that I was trying to push forward, and it did kind of tear us apart. I wasn't spending any time. I was coming home super late. It was times where like I wouldn't see my wife for like almost a week. You know what I'm saying? Like weeks at a time. A couple of days. You know what I'm saying? Because I would see her in the morning. I'm gone early. I don't get back till late at night. And the repeat, the same repeat, and we never spend any time because I'm out there trying to get it, trying to get it, trying to get it. And my wife is more reserved. She no, well, know what? I lie because she works and we have our son together. But I just kind of became the typical father, whereas I would put all the responsibilities of the child on her, and so she didn't have time to really go and do the things that she want to do. And by her having a baby, I kind of put her life on hold. We put
Right,
her life
right,
on hold, and we
right,
tend to do
right.
that a lot because we're gonna like,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
bet. You know what I'm saying? We jumping out the nest like you got this, you good, right? Bet
right,
I'll be back. And
right.
so yeah, I fell to that stereotypical male, started to become that. But then I had to bag up, man, honestly, and how I got that balance is I truly had to ask myself um, what mattered to me, in life, and a lot of people, I've heard this before, you know what I'm saying? I've heard this before, whereas a lot of people use their why as the excuse. Like people misuse their why rather than using their why. Okay, so what
Right.
that means is that like your why for you doing whatever you're doing is because your why for being doing overtime and not spending time with your family is because I'm doing this for my family,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some people, they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to do overtime because I want to enjoy time with my family, right? So for me, I had to kind of identify like which seat that I sit in, and not that I'm misusing my why, but at the same time, um, as a man, I feel like you just have to. you just gotta take the back seat sometimes. You know, you really gotta do what you have to do. Um, and for me, what mattered most is not not doing so much that I miss my family, that I miss time to really pour into my son, that I miss time to show my wife that, you know what I'm saying, that I love her, you know what I'm saying, by giving her time.
Right.
So I got that time back and I got that balance back by truly putting my family first. You know what I'm saying? Um, and trusting in God, man. Honestly, because like I'm, if I don't go to work, I don't get paid. If I don't do this, I don't do that. I don't get that,
Right.
and then we kind of do like I was the epitome of faith without works is dead.
right. Right. Right.
I was
Right.
the
Right.
epitome of that, man.
Right.
And yeah. So, but faith without works is not is that's true, but works toward what you have faith in. You know what I'm saying? So I have
Right.
faith and I'm trying to do a certain thing. So I'm putting my work in the thing that I believe in. And I believe in my
Right.
family. I believe in family being put first. And I believe in happy marriage. I believe in my wife being happy and satisfied and know that she has no regrets that I married this guy. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I put that first, and I put my works and I put my work in that, and I'm gonna let everything else come later, um, as as God sees fit.
Right.
But you have to be humble. You have to be really. It's really difficult. It's not easy to do that. To say that I will the things I want so bad, the freedom, financial freedom I want so bad that I'm gonna let it come in due time.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, just to kind of speak to like what you're saying, the same thing happened to me and my wife. And I think I had mentioned to you when we first talked, like I was a pastor before. And so I was in ministry for probably about 5 years, going on 5, 6 years. And during that time period, my wife stayed at home with the kids. It was just she stayed at home with my daughter, and then when I had my son, she was at home, and so it
Right.
was all about like my ministry. Like
Right.
I got to get this thing going. I gotta, I'm preaching here, I'm doing this, and that's my whole life revolved around that. And my wife would be at home, and it was like, she would go through these phases, man, where she was just depressed and if you know my wife, whenever y'all get to meet, man, she is like the opposite of stay at home mom. You know what I'm saying? Like she's like,
Right.
I gotta go. I mean, she always accomplished a lot of things, and she's always done a lot of things. And so, um, while I was pursuing ministry, she was at home and she was really feeling it, man. And then what ended up happening was when I resigned last year and I kind of stepped away from that, I actually took the role of staying at home. So I
Okay.
became like a stay-at-home dad. And so I'm like, I mean, you talk about ego trip. You know what I mean? Like I'm used
Woo!
to the one.
Boy,
I'm
be
the
like
one
that.
used to, going, 100 miles an hour, and now I'm at home changing diapers. And but what I realized was that God had put me in that place for a reason, to see that, kind of even going back to the question, to see that, Nick, this is not all just about your goals and your objective. You know what I'm saying? This is about you as a unit. You and your wife, I put y'all together as a unit so that you can work. And so when I realized that, I realized, okay, God needs me to take a step back and allow her to accomplish some of the goals and the objectives that she has, and then me be the support. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes, even like in the church world, man, even in the church, we kind of mess that up because we always preach like, okay, women, support your husband, support your husband, support your husband. I'm all for that. But at the same time, it also needs to be husbands, support your wife, support your wife, support your wife, because she's got goals just like you do. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed, indeed, man.
Yeah.
But honestly, man, it takes a real man to do that. It takes a real man to do that, and it's not because again, you letting go, like you giving up. All your
Right.
friends who doing this and they're ahead of you and all this stuff, like they doing them, they got this, they got that, and now you just got to sit back and just kind of watch, while you changing diapers, you know.
right.
Um,
Yeah. That's it.
but
That's it,
like
man.
but
Taking
you
my
got to be
daughter to
okay
ballet
with that.
class.
You got to be okay
yeah.
with that, knowing that it's a bigger thing that you're doing, and
Oh,
knowing that because I love this, And me and my wife, I think the verse in Ephesians, we said that that was kind of the foundation of our relationship. Whereas, wives submit to your husband, and wife and husbands, honor your wife, and because love her as you love yourself, because Christ, as Christ loved the church, and He gave His life. You know what I'm saying? He gave His life for the church. So therefore, I mean, I really try to embody that for our relationship. And I feel like any man that does that is willing to go that length for their wife and for their family to do what's best for them, they'll end up saving their relationship.
Oh yeah, big time, big time. I know personally, man. If I wouldn't have stepped away, if I wouldn't have stepped down, it would have ruined my marriage. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I feel like ministry is one of those things where you have to constantly keep balance because it can be so easy. Think about it. All right, well, so you know, if you think about it, Sunday is you ain't that's not an off day for you. You know what I'm saying? Like
Not at
everybody
all.
else gets to go to church and worship God and eat some food, but you as a minister, you're like, all right, well, I got to prepare a sermon. I'm thinking all week. I'm trying to prepare and get ready and try and get this in my spirit. And so,
Right.
if you're not careful, you can wrap your whole identity, going back to identity, you can wrap your whole identity around that, and then kind of just think that, okay, yeah, my family is just always going to be there, because they're my family, because this is what my wife said she was going to do. But the reality of it is, if you're not careful in ministry, and this is not, I'm not talking to you in general, I'm just talking,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I feel like if you're not careful in ministry, you can, a lot of guys I think miss that, man. Your first ministry is at home. Like
Mm,
if stuff
facts.
at home
Facts.
isn't right, if stuff at home is not right, how are you gonna minister to people? It's not it won't. I mean, it'll last for a little while, but eventually we're gonna start
Bro,
seeing the truth.
you can say
You know what
that
I'm
again,
saying?
bro. You can definitely say that again. It's
Yeah,
funny because my
that's where
my
it starts, man.
that one, man, that your first ministry starts at home. Like my we were me and my wife, we do counseling with our pastors every so often. And my prophetess, Tanya Smith, she told that to my wife because my wife was so caught up on, like, she was like, my ministry, this and that, and my gifts. And whenever she told my wife that kind of like, I was kind of like, because I was shocked, because I was like, because I need my wife. I'm like, I need you, baby. I need you to be blah 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 blah. And then
Right.
she kind of validated that no, your husband is your congregation. Your child is your congregation. You know what I'm saying? You lay hands on them, you speaking to them. And the same thing for us though, because that didn't kind of get me, off the stoop or get me off the bench to go do what I want to do. The same thing for me. You know what I'm saying? That she is my church. And I'm to care for her. I'm to really to give my life for her, and then she's gonna bless me and allow me to go and do these things. But I like that you said that, man. And
Right. I
it's
learned it,
backwards.
bro. I learned it firsthand. You know what I'm saying? I learned it firsthand. I'm telling you, and I'm not trying to brag on, not really trying to brag, but just boast on the fact that I did step down from that. But I knew, and God was showing me, like, Nick, if you stay on this path, just constantly doing this, you there's not gonna you ain't gonna have no, you know what I'm saying? There's not gonna be any ministry because you're gonna
Right.
lose your family. You know what I'm saying? In pursuit of it. You know what I'm saying? Because I had, you think about it, man. A lot of people. I mean, my vision for the ministry I had was like worldwide. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to go to China and be a missionary and just crazy stuff. You know what I mean? I'm telling my wife all this crazy stuff. Like, yeah, let's go to China, and she's like, I mean, my mom, she's a writer, man, so she was like, yeah, let's go to China. You know what I'm saying? And so, I had this vision that was like, okay, it was so much bigger, but I had to realize, man, if I lose that, it ain't gonna. All the goals in the world that I got, it ain't even gonna matter, man, because you know I won't have anything to really fall back on. I won't have a family,
So can I ask
So
you a question?
yeah,
All right. How do you? And I have my own way of kind of getting myself out of my soapbox whenever I kind of like, I gave up this, so I can't believe I'm doing this, and like, I'm not in the game and I'm on the bench. I know I have my own way of getting my mind right, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Um, But my question to you is, and also for other men, for men that when putting their wife or their house first takes them out of their life and kind of puts their life on hold or time out, so to speak. How do you advise, and how do you speak to yourself to get yourself out of that funk, out of that place that, like almost like, oh, not that you've given up, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, how do you speak to yourself? How do you encourage yourself um, to let yourself know that you're doing the right thing?
Right. So the way I look at it is like this. I played sports in high school, and like one thing that a lot of people I feel missed, especially in sports, is the need for rest. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm playing in a game and my body is telling me like I'm tired, I'm not gonna perform to my max. You know what I'm saying? And so your body needs rest. Just like if I break a bone, my body needs time to heal. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just a natural process of life. Is that we are built to have to need time to just slow down and stop. You know what I'm saying? That's why God created the Sabbath. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
We gotta
Yes.
rest. You know, and so it was difficult in the beginning because my ego was really wrapped around me being a provider. You know what I mean? I always prided myself on being a hard worker, and I see my
Yes.
dad be a hard worker, and so I've always said, well, I'm never gonna let my family struggle. I'm never gonna let them, have to deal with hardship because I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna do my very best to get it. And so it was difficult in the beginning, but then I realized that this time for me right now is time to heal. You know what I'm saying? This is time to heal on so many different aspects. Spiritually, it's time to heal emotionally, it's time to heal physically, it's time to heal in my relationships with my children, my
Yes, sir.
wife. You know what I'm saying? And so the way that I had to talk myself out of the funk was I had to realize, like, look, this is just like a game, man. This is like a football game, man.
All
You're
right.
just taking a rest. You're taking a rest on the bench right now, and you need that rest because when you get back in the game, guess what? You're gonna have to hit it hard. And so if you're not rested up, you're gonna struggle. You know what I mean? And so that's how I really just had to encourage myself, man. I had to encourage myself on that front. And then also too, I started going to therapy. Like I actually started seeing a counselor, and me and her would sit down and we would talk and we would hash out a lot of things, man, because as men, we tend to like, we're like, all right, well, we got God built us with these big shoulders, so I'm just gonna hold everything that I have to deal with on my shoulders and I'll be all right, and never really let any of that out, never really discuss any of it. And so then what ends up happening is like we're like over time, man, you start seeing cracks. And if you don't let any of that out, it can end up destroying you. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer of that. So
Yes.
that
Amen.
therapy really helped me out, man, was just to just talk to my counselor, talk to her and just say, hey, look, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling. This is why I'm struggling in these areas. And she really helped me. That was part of the reason I even started doing this podcast. What inspired this podcast was actually I got done with a therapy session, and she was like, "You realize that you are in a place where you can start from ground zero and build this back up the way that you want to build it." You know what I'm saying? And I was like, "Boom, that's it." You know what I'm saying? So,
Wait,
um,
so I like that. Wait, because what's the name of your podcast? I think it's
it's life recreated. Life
Life Recreate.
recreated.
Okay, man. So
Yeah.
it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Okay, I,
Right.
I see
Right.
it now.
Because I mean, man, throughout our whole life, for the majority of us, everybody else kind of creates what our life should be. Like our parents tell us, okay, this is how you're supposed to act. You go to school, teachers are like, hey, this is how you're supposed to operate in society. But we never stop and take the time to say, wait a second, hold on. I have the ability, God has given me the ability to really create this life the way that I want to see it happen. You know what I mean? Whether it be something that He inspires me to do, you know what I'm saying? Whether it be a goal or an objective that I have the ability to really create that. You know what I mean? Like, and be intentional about it. And so that was really my whole mindset on it was like, man, like just to help people to realize that, man. So many people, you think about it, man, so many people are going through life and they're like, oh, well, life is doing this and that. And they don't realize they have control. You know what I'm saying? They have control. When people treat you a certain way, you have control of that. And the way you control it is you get them out of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's simple. Like, if I want a
Yeah.
good marriage, I have control. I can go to my wife and say, hey, let's work this together and let's be intentional about it and take control of that. And when I do that, guess what? When I look at my life and I see all that God has done and I see all that is transpiring, I say, you know what? It's because I took control. I took responsibility of it, you know? So
Facts. I like that.
that's a long answer to that question. You know what I mean? But that's how I kind of encourage myself, man. And then, you know, and then also too, it's like, even when I'm at home, man, I look at a lot of dads, like you said, you know, sometimes it's like you don't even get to spend time with your kids, man. These are the most important years of my children's life.
Right
And I
now.
see
Yeah.
them every single day. You know what I'm saying? When things go wrong, they come running to daddy, like, hey, daddy, can you help me? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and you can't trade that for nothing, bro. Can't trade it for nothing, man. So that's how it is, man. Well, let's move on to this last question. Last question I had. We've been on for about an hour. It's been good talk, but I want to talk about money.
Okay.
And I know, you know, obviously we've woven a lot about the Bible. We've woven a lot about God. But one of the things I feel like, okay, as millennials, that we're not having a conversation about money. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the stats, like, a lot of our generation is knee deep in debt. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying to live a lifestyle and we're using credit to kind of build that lifestyle up. And it's actually putting us further behind. I realize that now, that it's actually putting us further behind. So for like you and your wife, how do you guys approach money as a couple? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there like a certain thing where you guys say, you know what, this is obviously, you have goals. You mentioned financial freedom. I
Right.
want to be free financially. How do you guys approach money, and how would you encourage our generation to approach money as a couple?
How do we approach money and how and what we? Okay. I mean, it's not an easy answer because I'm still young and we made a lot of mistakes, but I thank God for these mistakes. We were talking about these today. The the predicament that I put myself in before, I I Lord, I would never have to do that again because I've done it already.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So square one. Again, just say. I mean, no, I don't. I don't. I'm about to say something, and I'm gonna say it. Um, but it goes back to God. Honestly, I don't just honor. We don't honor God with just 10% of our money. We honor God with the complete 100% of our money because it's His. You
Right.
know, all things come from Thee, O Lord, and of Thy own have we given Thee. Well, we give our 10%, but we honor Him with the whole 10, and we do that by being good stewards. You know, we pride ourselves on just being a good steward. You know, a good steward knows what comes to his into his house and what goes out of his house. You know, so we track every dollar and we have plans. We know that if we don't tell our money where to go, then it'll just self-direct itself. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Life will pick at money. Life will take your money away.
Oh yeah.
I promise
All
you,
day.
life will take your money away all day if you're not intentional about where you want your money to go. So our biggest things, like we kind of pride ourselves on like really handling our responsibilities first and foremost, handle our responsibilities. So I feel like if you handle your responsibilities financially, then you automatically have a great credit score, right? Because you're paying your bills on time. You know all those things that make up a credit score. If you are a good steward, you're pretty much you know what I'm saying, you've already done those things. So we're responsible and we pay our bills on time. So bills first, excuse me. Well, bills, we save and we try to grow our money. Or we try to put ourselves in a position where we can grow our money by, you know, XYZ. You know what I'm saying? Just basically being ready for any opportunity that presents ourselves, that presents itself, and being able to take advantage of those opportunities. And the
Right. Right.
only way that you can take advantage of opportunities are if if you've been prepared, if you prepared yourself prior to those opportunities.
Right.
So that's how we pride ourselves on money, and we know that we cannot do that if we spend every dollar. If we
Right.
ride around in Benzes, if we, I'm not a big jewelry person. Like we can't do those things that stereotypically as a people we're known for doing. So we can't do those things and expect to get where we want to, where we want to be. So that's if I can say that, that answers your question. Excuse me. That's pretty much what we do. Um,
Right.
and also, man, I have every example around me of what will happen if I'm not a good steward over my money.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
I have every
Right.
example. So therefore, um, I have no reason not to. You know what I'm saying? And any time that we find ourselves going backwards, we just have to come together and refocus, replan and execute. Honestly,
Right.
unity in everything, and again, honoring God with it. We don't. If you mismanage it, then I feel like you mismanage His. Like you sat on the talents that you could have invested. As He speaks, like the parable with the
Right.
three guys with the talent, the gold talents. So yeah, that's us, and that's how we do it.
Do you is it important? I mean, between your marriage, do you place? Because I feel like a lot of times, and especially, well, I won't say this in just the church, but just in our generation, we kind of like we don't really want to approach that subject, because money. You think about it, right? Money can't lie. Money don't lie. If you're doing
Right.
right with it, if you're doing right with money, money's gonna tell you, hey, you're doing right with me. If you're not doing
Okay.
right with it, money's gonna tell you you ain't got me. You know what I mean? That's how we end up broke because money will tell you, hey, look, it's facts. It's black or white with money. And
Right.
so I feel like a lot of times, especially our generation, we don't want to talk about money or kind of get into our details of money because it's going to really reveal who we are as individuals, like our character. You know what I'm saying? When you look at
Yes.
my bank account and you look at my bank statement, you're going to tell what I love and you're going to tell what I spend my money on and what type of man I am. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so in our generation, it's like, we want the lifestyle, like we want like all these nice things, but then we don't really want to get down to the nitty gritty of okay, well, how do we get there? Let's look at the dollar by dollar. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's look at the facts. So do you guys as a marriage, do you guys place a high importance on it? You know what I'm saying? Like where it's like, hey, look, this is important.
We definitely do because I mean we live in an economic world where economic driven world, and honestly, like money, you just that's just a fact. However, we put high priority on it. Um, but we see it as just another resource again that we are to be responsible over. We don't put money above love. We don't put money over time spent. We don't put money. Oh Jesus, I don't know what happened. We don't put.
You were dark on me, right?
I know, right? Like we don't put money over the gifts of God. You
Right.
know. So with that being said, we yeah, I mean, we do well, but I'm definitely blessed that we can be on the same page. Um, and that's simply that, man. Like
That's
if
good.
you get, man, I promise you, I've been there. I've been there. I've been the person that that has like put money first, money over everything type of thing. Like I've been that person. You know what I'm saying? So, and it got me to a place where I didn't like. So
Right.
we had to refocus and and regroup. I found myself abandoning the things that really matter. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Uh,
Right.
so that's simply that. So yes,
That's
we
good.
do put importance over it, but again, we know that it's not the most important thing. And the
Most
most
important
important
thing.
thing is our relationship. The most important thing is just our relationship with God, our family, and yeah, and that's basically that. So
That's
we
it.
just playing out. We just try to be good stewards.
Right.
That's it.
Right. 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 All right, cool. So last couple questions, man, is what would you leave as a piece of advice for young millennial marriages on how do they create the marriage they love?
How do you create the marriage you love? Um, that's a good question. Um, Honestly, to love your wife, and treat them as you would treat yourself. If you do that, then you can't mess up. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna cheat on yourself. You're not gonna disrespect yourself. So, well, you would think you wouldn't, right? Well,
right,
you, well,
right.
right. So you wouldn't want to do that. Let me say those things. Let me say that. So you wouldn't want to do that. It's not good if you did that. So just treat
Right.
them as you want to be treated, and and love them. Just love, man, love, man. Just, I take it back. Just love, bro. All that I
Right.
just said, well, yeah, I mean, that's cool and love, but love, if you love them, it
Right.
takes love, man. Especially, and not, I love everybody, but especially with, with black women, like, it takes, you really gotta love them. You know what I'm saying? Because like you think we're hurt. You know what I'm saying, because of the conditioning and all this, but they're hurt because they had to deal with it. Like
Right.
we were exploited and taken away from the home and not in the home, but they got to deal with the house. They run the house, so they got to deal with, you know what I'm saying, with what's left over. So coming from strong, my grandmother's super strong, and and say my grandfather deal with her. It takes love, man. Like it really, you just gotta love unconditionally. You have to love.
Right. That's good. That's good. Those facts. Definitely, man. All right. Well, hey, where can people find you online? I know you got
People
some
can find
online
me. I
presence.
mean, bro, my name is Jory. Like, who? How many Jorys you know?
You. That's it.
how, many, how many Jorys you know, man? So
How do you spell that? How do you spell that for anybody listening?
that's spelled Jhory. Jory Miller. You can find me on Instagram at only one Jory. No, because it's so unique, right? So only one Jory.
Gotcha. Only one Jordan.
Again, Facebook and every other probably social network as Jory Miller. Plain as day.
Right. Good deal. Good deal. Well, man, Jory, I really appreciate the time. I really appreciate. I think we got some really good nuggets in here that's going to help some millennial marriages out. So there you have it, another amazing episode with special guest Jhory Miller on creating the marriage you love. There were so many great nuggets dropped throughout this whole conversation, and I know it's going to help some millennial marriages out there. So until next time, this is Nick Walters with the Life Recreated podcast, and keep creating the life you love.